The Orlando Magic have a record of 31 wins and 30 losses. They're 17-10 here at home and 14-20 on the road. Tracy McGrady gets the start of the backcourt with Darrell Armstrong. Armstrong leading the team this season in assists and almost 2 steals per game. And in the front court for the Magic, very formidable one indeed. The second-year star Mike Miller with Pat Garrity, and Horace Grant, who did not play in their last game at Boston with back spasms, has been listed as day-to-day, but Horace inserted into the starting lineup here for Orlando tonight. Their head coach in his 3rd season is Glenn Doc Rivers, 40 years old. He signed a contract extension through the 2004-2005 season. And 2 years ago, Doc named the NBA Coach of the Year, the 5th rookie coach ever to win the award. Let's take a look at the Jim Coleman keys to the game, Phil Chenier.
Well, for the Wizards, they've got to do something with McGrady and Miller. Both players 6'8", each strong inside and outside and possess a lot of quickness. In fact, McGrady has been unstoppable in the 2 games against Washington. But Washington wants to run, but their transition game, they have to know when to run. They can't get out and run before they get possession. So rebounding is going to be important there too. The Magic defense is going to be important for them as well. They have had problems. Their last 4 opponents have averaged over 114 points, each shooting over 50%. Washington being one of those teams getting 107 points. That being said, the Magic are happy to be back. Their assist game is going to be extremely important. They're 25-2 when they have more assists than their opponents. Miller, McGrady, their size and their quickness, the matchups there can create opportunities for others, and also the quickness of Armstrong and Hudson. But it'll be a battle of the wills. Washington has to come out here determined and sustain their play throughout the game.
Here are your officials, Danny Crawford with James Capers and D. Cantner. 4th of 4 meetings between the two. The Magic won the first on December 1st at MCI Center 96-87, but the Wiz have won the last 2, including the overtime victory. Now the starting lineup has changed again for Washington, and it is not Tyrone Nesby in. It is in fact Courtney Alexander starting in the backcourt with Chris Whitney, and up front Hamilton Leitner and Popeye Jones. So they go back to what they thought they were going to have originally, and those are your 5 starters for the Wizards. Steve Buckhantz, Phil Chenier, and our Comcast Sportsnet crew here tonight as Washington looks to get the win as Popeye misses and Garrity is there for the rebound. Orlando coming off, by their own admission, an embarrassing 130-110 loss to the Celtics in Boston on Wednesday. Their 4th loss in a row, and they were just blown out of that game. Armstrong, you can't give him an open look at the basket, but Grant has the rebound. Here's Miller, drives all the way and slams.
Well, the game that they really were upset about is actually that game Sunday back in Washington. They felt that they had an opportunity to win that particular game there, and it got away from them. Washington winning that one in overtime, especially when you consider that both Jordan and Richard Hamilton weren't there. They thought that one got away from them. That
would have given them 3 victories on their road trip. And Doc Rivers said that was okay with him. But as you said, Phil, that really hurt to lose to the Wizards, and they wound up 2-5 on the 7-game trip. And a 2-pointer gives them a 4-0 lead.
We've seen 2 mistakes already. You had Miller go down the middle for an easy dunk and then transition. They don't do a good job in getting back. Remember, they've got to play this game intense. Smart, but intense. Good
Leitner
shot.
drives and scores. Christian Leitner averaging 7.6 points and 5.5 rebounds a game for Washington. McGrady pulls up for the jumper. That's a little short. The 2 Wizards are there. Alexander off the hands of McGrady. The last time these 2 teams played, which was Sunday, Doug Collins elected not to use Jahidi White at all in the game, even though Jahidi was healthy enough to play.
Well, here's Miller going down the middle for the dunk. Uncontested. Nice shot from Richard Hamilton.
On a good feed, and we are tied at 4.
Going back to that lineup change, you're right, because again, they have all these guys 6'8", they can shoot from the outside, and they're very mobile. So they don't have a real strong post-up player. Even Horace Grant is going to shoot the short jumper.
McGrady is hacked by Alexander. That's number 1 on Courtney. And Orlando
Well, the key to this matchup here is you're going to try and fight him from getting that kind of inside position. Once he establishes that kind of spotting on the court, you're forced to do just what you saw Courtney do.
McGrady, a 77% free throw shooter.
He shoots his free throws well. However, he missed some key free throws in that overtime period. In fact, he missed 3 in that period. Had kind of an unusual game. He missed all 9 of his field goal attempts in the first half and only had 5 points, but of course finished the game with 30. He really took over in the third and fourth quarters.
And had 9 assists in that contest as well. Makes them both.
A triple-double, in fact. Yeah.
Hamilton springs free, now goes back to Whitney. Bounce pass over the corner to Alexander. Popeye Jones looking inside for Leitner. Christian, nice move, gets the ball slapped away and stolen.
Good hands from McGrady there. Well, you had to know that this team was going to come fired out. Darrell Armstrong really the general out here on the floor, and he really is the player that gets his team fired up. And you see him pressuring Whitney all over the court.
Largest lead of the game for Orlando, 5 points. Very physical inside and off the foot of Armstrong to Washington with 10 on the shot clock.
Seconds to shoot. 10.
Find Leitner on the inbound. Whitney pulls the trigger, long jumper, too strong. McGrady is there. Tracy McGrady spots up again, and he's got another long-range jumper. He's 7th in the league in scoring at 24.6 points a game.
Yeah, that was a three-pointer there, and I tell you, he's this whole team is certainly happy to be back home. We can't emphasize that enough, and Washington has yet to get their first offensive rebound.
Wizards are in a similar situation. Have just the 1 game to play at home against Boston on Monday, and then they're off for 7 consecutive games on the road. In the meantime, the Magic have opened up a 10-point lead. Popeye Jones.
Well, you can see how aggressively their defenders are coming out, contesting shots on pick and rolls. They're very aggressive and jumping out at the shooters.
Up ahead to Hamilton with no numbers. Richard decides to go one-on-one and scores. Pretty move by Rip Hamilton. He did not play the last time these two teams met. He was out with a stomach virus on Sunday. Miller goes to the left side for Grant, who misses, and Leitner has another rebound, his 3rd. Hamilton drives and gets pushed on the baseline by Miller, his first personal. Washington ball on the side.
First team foul.
Alexander with a season-high 32 in that game against Orlando, 1 shy of his career high. In fact, 6 players scored in double figures in that game for the Wizards. Here's Leitner for the open jump shot. And there's your offensive rebound.
You need some of those.
Alexander inside for Hamilton. Nice pass, rip into the lane. Fakes, got hit, no call, tip up, no, and it's taken by Orlando. Now they switch off. Jones covering McGrady. Tracy inside, draws the foul, and he scores. Popeye is really upset with D. Cantler.
Well, I thought they should have called the first foul. I think it was Hamilton from the other side got him on the arm, and then he traveled. Watch Hamilton come in the picture. He reaches there, slows him down. Well, that's a travel at that point, but there was contact from Hamilton. Again, you see him slow him down. But the continuation will count. Popeye picks up the foul.
And the free throw missed by Tracy. And Orlando on a 12-2 run in the last 320. McGrady has 12 points. Defensive 3-second infraction will give the Wizards a free shot at the line and the ball back. Magic won the first game December 1st. MCI Center 96-87. The Wizards won the last two December 21st here 93-75. And then last Sunday was 107-102 in overtime. They lead the all-time series, including 9 of the last 10 in Orlando. So prior to the Wizards' win here December 21st, they hadn't beaten the Magic in Orlando since November 1st, 1996. Eight seconds. Hamilton, nice move. Fadeaway jumper, beauty.
Oh, that was a tough shot. Miller was all over it.
Miller around the screen, fakes Leitner, wanted contact, hits the jumper anyway. Mike Miller in his second year from Florida, the 5th overall pick in the draft last year by Orlando, and he has turned out to be quite a player.
That's right, last year's Rookie of the Year, and following that up with another fine year, second leading scorer on this team.
Hamilton again with Miller challenging him. Rip goes all the way, lays it off to Leitner. They tumble outside and Leitner scores. And Miller is hurt. He is hurt and wincing in pain, out of bounds on the baseline, and Armstrong calls time. Hamilton and Miller collided when Rip went up and passed the ball off, and Miller got the worst of it.
Yeah, I don't know if he came down wrong on the ankle or what, but we'll see after this timeout.
5:47 to play, and the Wizards now down by 7. Here's a look at this last play, and keep your eye on the left portion of your screen for the injury to Miller.
And the left leg. Keep an eye. Rip goes by, kind of takes that leg out, it looks like, and he goes down hard.
As irony would have it, it was here on December 21st when Richard Hamilton pulled his groin and wound up missing 17 of the next 17 games.
And from that angle, you could see that that left leg landed very awkwardly. I don't know if it's a knee or ankle, but it's definitely the left side that was injured.
So they've carried Miller out of here. Richard Hamilton remains in the game. And the Wizards, shooting just 39%, are down by 7. 9 seconds to shoot. They've isolated Armstrong on Whitney. Beautiful pass inside. That's Monty Williams, DC zone from Potomac High School in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Monty in his 8th year from Notre Dame.
We talked about the size of Miller and McGrady presenting problems, but also the quickness of Armstrong and Hunter.
Not to mention Troy Hudson, who did some damage against the Wizards the other night. Alexander misses. Popeye is pushed out of the lane by Grant, who has his 3rd rebound of the night. McGrady, nice move on Alexander, and draws the foul. He's, as you said in the open field, just about impossible to stop once he gets in there.
Well, he's 6'8", extremely agile and quick. Look at the move there. Fakes the fadeaway and then quickly moves towards the baseline basket, and using both hands equally well.
Called it on Richard Hamilton his first, and McGrady back to the free throw line where he missed his last try, and that one. Tyrone Nesby in for Courtney Alexander for the Wizards. Courtney in 7 minutes missed both field goal attempts and has a rebound with a personal foul. McGrady will be 23 in May. Misses them both. From Durham, North Carolina, where he went to high school at Mount Zion Academy. And the steal by McGrady. Tracy McGrady, in addition to his 24.5-point average and 7.5 rebounds, 5 assists, Averages 1.5 steals per game, so he's got a half to go.
Yeah.
Hamilton double pump, lays it off Whitney for the open jumper. Missed it. 5 rebounds for Grant. Largest lead of the game for Orlando, 11 points. Teron Lue up off the Washington bench. McGrady's shot will not count, and D. Cantner has a foul on Chris Whitney.
Well, here's that steal there. McGrady taking it in, has those long arms, and again, the quickness can fool you. You got to know the personnel you're going against. So Nesby making that pass, 9 times out of 10 that pass is complete, but you've got somebody as quick as McGrady, and you've got to be that much more careful.
Armstrong. Pat Garrity in for the rebound. And the lead is 13. Hamilton's short jumper no good. Nesby's there, and Tyrone scores.
Yeah, Wizard bench up off the bench because that time it looked like
Lue with a steal.
It looked like Hamilton was fouled on that play.
Nesby waits, now goes inside for the short jumper, tips his own shot up, misses. Popeye is there, he can't get it, and Grant has the rebound. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Garrity wide open.
That's something else about this team. They're not bashful about putting up threes. Only Boston attempts more three-pointers than Orlando.
14-point Magic lead, their largest of the game. Nice move, and score the goal. Richard Hamilton scores, and now Monty Williams.
Well, he came down hard on the floor, got his legs clipped as Hamilton was going up.
In the exact same spot where Mike Miller went down. Timeout with 2:51 to go in the first quarter. Tracy McGrady having a big quarter and nearing his season high for the first quarter this year, which is 17.
Well, he's 5 for 7 from the field, and it would have more than those 14 points had he made a few more of his free throws. Only 2 for 5 from the free throw line. There comes up with a big steal and an easy basket. But he's got this team off and running.
McGrady's season high is 47 at the Clippers on December 10th. And you remember earlier this year, he strained his lower back and went to Atlanta for therapy. In the first game they played against the Wizards, he wasn't around. And as you can see, getting some treatment on the back.
And from what I remember, Doc Rivers, his coach, recommended, because Doc has had a long history of back problems, and Doc recommended somebody down there. He wants to look after his young star.
Troy Hudson is in the game. Here's Monty Williams, and scores on a Tom Thomas. And the Wizards have a couple of substitutes as well. Thomas and Hubert Davis are in the lineup, with Teron Lue, Hamilton, and Tyrone Nesby. Hamilton inside, and that is an offensive foul on Richard Hamilton.
Well, DeClerc did a good job of stepping over and closing down the middle, watching him running some motion, and you see Hamilton curling off that pick, but DeClerc right there to take the charge.
So Hamilton now with 2 personal fouls has to come out of the game with 9 points on 4 of 7 shooting. And insert Brendan Haywood into the Washington lineup. Wizards looking for a way to score, but they've given up 29 points to Orlando. Into Haywood. Against Garrity, lost the handle. Lue drives all the way inside Thomas, who scores, and he's fouled.
You've got to go up strong in that territory. You're always going to get some bumps and bruises.
Fouls on DeClerc, his first.
The penetration there from Teron Lue, and then the dish off Over to Atan, and Atan has to take that ball with two hands and go up strong. That's just what he does.
Atan shooting just 50% from the free throw line for the Wizards, but that one swishes through. 3-point play for Thomas, and the lead back to 10. Steve Buckhantz, Phil Chenier. Wizards will have tomorrow off. They'll spend it in Boston, and then they'll play the Celtics 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon right here on Comcast. That's rejected, I should say, by Thomas. Monty Williams tries it again and has it swatted back, and then Garrity loses it out of bounds.
Boy, good sequence there for Atan, giving himself an old hand, and Garrity a little upset he didn't come up with that loose ball. But here's the first block by Atan. Good job there. Monty Williams comes up with it and forces another bad shot that he's forced to miss.
Former Georgetown star Patrick Ewing has entered the fray here tonight in his 17th year. Short jumper no good, and a loose ball foul on Washington.
Atan picks up that foul. A little pushing underneath there, trying to establish position.
Magic, after all of those games on the road, 7 where they went 2-5, are back to play 9 of 16 March games at home. They're happy about that.
We just saw Doug Collins giving some shooting tips to Nesby, telling him to follow through on that shot. That was a makeable shot that you just saw from him.
In fact, speaking of Orlando's trip, Phil, it was their franchise's longest road trip, 7 games. Fans Metro, great seats to all the sporting events in town. Find out what trains and buses will take you to your game. Visit MetroOpenStores.com and click on the ride guide. In fact, they were supposed to play 8 games on the road when the initial schedule came out, and they went to the league and they said, come on, guys, give us a break. So they canceled one of the games, basically. It was against Philadelphia.
But the most unusual part of that is that there weren't any Western Conference games. Good shot by Brendan Haywood. They were all against Eastern Conference teams, and that's very unusual to stay on the road that long in your conference.
The Magic, in fact, had the best record in February among teams in the Atlantic Division, going 8-3. But they've lost 4 in a row. And need a win badly as Lou pumps one in. And the Wizards have cut the lead to 7.
I was going to say, it was Teron Lue that really had a very good shooting night the last time these teams played here, and Washington came away with a big win, and Teron had 3 3-pointers in the second half.
Hudson inside, scores. Troy Hudson, who the last time these two teams played, and comes up with a steal. Hudson had 13 in that game the other night.
And Brendan tried to make that inbounds pass a little too quickly, and Darrell Armstrong right there to pick it off.
4th turnover for the Wizards have led to 5 Orlando points. Hudson again. 5 rebounds in the game for Nesby, and Lou's shot will not count. So a big quarter for Tracy McGrady. 14 points in the period on 5 of 7 shooting. 32 points in the quarter for the Orlando team. And they lead the Wizards 32-23 after 1. Comcast Sportsnet coverage of Wizards basketball brought to you tonight by Southwest Airlines, bringing people together with low fares. By the Fannie Mae Foundation, showing America a new way home. And by Force 3, recognizing for a decade that networks are people. Well, we look at the Verizon first quarter stats, a period where the Magic blistered the Nets at 59%.
Yeah, look at that 3-point shooting, 3 for 5 there. The only problems they had was at the free throw line, where they missed 4 attempts out of 7. Washington having 14 rebounds, 5 on the offensive board. That started to get them back into this game, but they've got to be careful. 4 turnovers. And he had 10 fast break points from Orlando, too. This is a high-energy kind of team.
They got 16 points in the paint. The Wizards had 12. Ewing, easy pass inside. And a nice play from Troy Hudson. Troy Hudson, who coming off the bench, has scored in double figures 33 times for this team, including 20 or more points 5 times. He was in double figures only 8 times the entire season last year. Ton Thomas's jumper short. Haywood gets hacked and goes to the floor hard. That was a hard foul, and Brendan will shoot 2.
He did a good job with the head fake. He got Patrick Ewing up in the air. And DeClerc was the one that got the foul. And
Patrick hit the floor, though.
Yeah, that was Ton kind of giving him a little nudge afterwards.
And I think they called a flagrant foul because Haywood is at the line. It's a second personal on DeClerc. And so 2 shots, the Wizards will get the ball back. It was, in fact, a flagrant. Brendan has made all 3 of his free throws.
I think this is a situation very, very often where a player has certain reputation, and Andrew DeClerc has been known for giving hard fouls. Not to say he's a dirty player, but referees will watch a player like that a little closely and probably call it a little closer.
And he's just picked up his 3rd personal, fouling Ton Thomas. You're not going to hear much out of Doc Rivers. Doc just had his wallet lightened by $7,500 the other night after comments about the officiating in the Magic's loss to Indiana, 111-98. He was ejected, in fact, with 2 minutes 25 seconds to go in that game, and said it was the worst officiated game he's ever seen, and singled out Violet Palmer. Said she missed some calls. Nesby lost it off his hand out of bounds, and the Wizards turn it over.
Buechler may have gotten away with a little bit of a hack there. That forced Tyrone Nesby to lose control of that ball.
Judd Buechler is in the game. He has the ball around Hubert Davis. Now kicks it out to Patrick Ewing for the long jumper. Patrick still has a little gas left in the tank, doesn't he? In his 17th year, averaging 6.5 points, 4.5 rebounds a game. 39 years old, an 11-time All-Star.
Good play. That time they ran the pick, got the ball in the middle and sent both players in the same direction.
Hudson all the way, and it looked like somebody might have touched it.
I think that was Brendan Haywood got a piece of it.
Hubert Davis for Lou, and they'll set it up. Lou, nice move, now goes inside for Haywood's jumper. That's off the mark. And tipped away from Thomas by Buechler. Off the leg of Don Reed. There's so many DC connections in this game, and many of them for Orlando. Monty Williams went to Potomac High School. Don Reed and Patrick Ewing both played at Georgetown. Of course, Grant Hill, who's not here, played at South Lakes High in Reston, Virginia. His dad came by to say hi before the game, Calvin Hill. 4 seconds, Nesby knocked away by Buechler. And the Wizards turn it over.
That was an excellent play from Buechler.
That hurt as the Wizards trying to slice into this lead. Hudson for Ewing. Patrick drives on Haywood and misses. Thomas is there.
Was Patrick leaning in on Haywood or what?
Magic 31 and 30. Lou Thomas for the open jumper. Got it.
Well, right now, the last few possessions, Tyronn Lue has created some problems for the Magic defense. He's been able to penetrate and get the assist.
And Ton Thomas, 2 away from his career high. He's got 7 points. Nice job by Davis. Ton 3 of 4 from the field, 7 points off the bench. And the Wizards have cut it to 7 once again at 36-29 with a timeout in Orlando. Here's what all the hubbub was about last Tuesday at the Conseco Fieldhouse. Doc Rivers complaining that he wasn't getting the calls, and you can see there he might have a case here with a push-off on Darrell Armstrong. So Doc excoriating the officials, Mike Callahan, and was ejected with 2:25 to go in the game, subsequently fined $7,500 by the league after comments he made about the game in which Orlando lost 111-98. And then they asked him again what he thought about the game coming up against Boston, which they subsequently lost. And Doc said, I still don't agree with those calls. Not worried about any more controversy or fines.
Yeah, I think we've all been there in a game situation where you just feel like you do lose it. And you don't really care about the consequences. Not a good position to be in, but sometimes you can't help yourself.
McGrady makes the first. Our pal Grant Hill, who went to South Lakes High in Reston, Virginia, had left ankle surgery in Baltimore on December 19th. He's out for the season. Played 4 years at Duke, helped then win back-to-back NCAA titles in 91 and 92. And as I said, Calvin coming by just before the game to say hi. Calvin Hill, his dad, his mom Janet. So free throws by McGrady, and the Wizards with 8 seconds to shoot. Lou with a pretty move, spins and misses. Haywood battling for the rebound, and it's taken by Garrity. And Don Reed draws the foul, the former Wizard.
Everybody running the floor. That means defensively you've got to get back. Don Reed sneaking in on that right side. Brendan was hustling back, but he was going out to meet Garrity, who was on the wing.
And Don makes the first, a former Largo High School star in the metropolitan area. Played 2 years ago with Detroit till the Wizards signed him as a free agent in March. Played 17 games in Washington after 4 seasons in Detroit, and now he's here in Orlando. Hubert Davis off a screen. Thomas. Wizards a little jumbled inside. Short jumper, no good.
Not much you can do with that kind of shot. Tracy McGrady pulling up from long distance.
19 points for McGrady. 6 of 8 shooting. Lou works free and hits that one. Got a pretty jumper, doesn't he, Phil?
Yeah, he does, and when he's really set and under control, he goes up very smoothly.
Hudson fadeaway, followed easily by Reed. Wizards, if you're wondering, Richard Hamilton on the bench right now with 2 personal fouls. And hasn't seen a lot of action here in the second quarter. Now Haywood bangs. Davis off the screen. Hubert goes inside, lays it off underneath. Score the goal by Haywood. He'll go to the line.
Well, that was a tough play from Hubert Davis right there, because he had to change direction a couple of times in the crowd. Watch him come around here, change over there, get Don Reed to commit himself, and drops it off to Brendan Haywood. Boy, that's a nice play from Hubert.
Called it on Monty Williams, his second. And now Brendan Haywood to the line, where Brendan is 2 for 2 from the line. I could have sworn he made 3
No, he made both
throws.
of them. Oh.
I thought he had 3 earlier, but
no, he made the 2.
Yeah, but didn't he score? Make a 3-point play?
No, it was a 2. No, just 2 points.
Williams baseline. Monty, nice pass inside for Reed, who missed it. And Popeye's there. Hamilton's back in the lineup now for Washington. Richard, nice pass to Popeye, who was a little off balance, and followed in by Haywood. And another Orlando player is down and hurt. This time it's Garrity, who really took a shot from Jones. Looked like he might have just taken a finger in his eye. Popeye was a little... had his momentum going. He couldn't stop.
Yeah, I thought maybe his elbow may have come down on his face.
McGrady, and he is just unconscious right now. 21 for McGrady, 7 of 9 from the field. Again, his season high 47 against the Clippers earlier this year. Lou cuts inside, gives it to Popeye. Hamilton baseline, takes the jumper and misses. Haywood is there, nice rebound. Alexander for Lou. Swing it to Hamilton.
Good job. Good ball movement. All that made possible from the offensive rebound brought down by Brendan Haywood.
11 points in the half for Rip Hamilton, 5 of 9 from the field. Wizards continue to hang around, down by 9. McGrady on Alexander, fade away, and finally missed one. Up ahead to a streaking Hamilton in the lane. Stops, pops, and gets the bounce. 13 points for Rip Hamilton, and the lead down to 7.
I'll tell you, that possession, Washington really advanced that ball down quickly, didn't it?
They want to run. Hamilton and Alexander both saying, let's go for it. McGrady off the screen. Boy, these guys have some of the best outside shooters in the NBA.
Yep.
You look at him and Miller and McGrady and Armstrong, pure jump shooters. Popeye had it knocked away and barely kept it in the front court. Jones short jumper, no good. Rebound, Reed. McGrady lays it up lefty, no good. Tipped off of Popeye and to Orlando. 4:22 to go here in the first half. The Magic now with a 9-point lead and the ball when we come back. Fans coming up at the half. Stay tuned for the DC Lottery Hot 5 halftime report. We'll send you over to the Comcast Sportsnet studios in Bethesda for the latest sports news and highlights. So get up to speed before the Wizards hit the court for the second half. Stick around. It's the DC Lottery Hot 5 halftime report. Happens right after the buzzer to end the first half. Our force 3 three-pointers. Tracy McGrady, the NBA's Eastern Conference Player of the Month for February. And he averaged 26 points a game, almost 9 rebounds, with over 6 assists, and 2.4 steals in 10 games in the month of February. T-Mac has scored 20-plus points in 44 games this year, 30-plus 13 times, and 40 or more 4 times, including, as I mentioned, 47, which was his season high. And he's having a big game here tonight as well. 21 points for Tracy McGrady. Monty Williams lost it. It goes off of Haywood's hands.
He was over there to give help, but couldn't bring that ball in, and the ball goes back to Orlando with 14 seconds on the shot clock. Those are some important possessions when you get a chance to get them without them even taking a shot.
Armstrong for Grant, and Horace misses. Leitner's there for the rebound. Lou pushing it up. 5 rebounds for Christian Leitner. Michael Jordan continues to rehab the knee. Had surgery on the 27th. Lou's jumper is good.
He saw Horace Grant coming over there. He just lofted that shot up very quickly before Grant could really close in on him.
MJ has missed 7 games. Wizards have a 2-5 record without him. Nice move by Alexander. Great body control, but he couldn't get the layup. Haywood is there. Wizards can cut it to 5 or 4 with a 3. Leitner looking inside for Haywood. Now Courtney's jumper, and doesn't quite have the touch so far tonight, as he did against this Magic team on Sunday when he scored 32 points, a season high. McGrady against Alexander. Now they switch Lou's on him. Now Teron leaves it. They go to the corner for Armstrong, and he carries a 3-pointer.
Yeah, those assists we talk about as being key for this team. You get 2 players following another one, especially somebody like McGrady. You find the open man and give someone like Armstrong an open look.
Doug Collins wants time. The Magic have gone back up by 10 with 2:35 to play in the half. Today there are more users, more data, more devices, and more bandwidth, and tomorrow there will be more. That's why Sun offers the most complete, most reliable, nth-ready products that are engineered to provide new levels of performance. Sun Microsystems take it to the nth. Well, the Wizards trail the Magic by 10 after cutting it to 7 and a chance to slice even further into the lead, but could not convert on the possession. Washington, though, with the ball. 2:35 to go in the half. Whitney, Hamilton, Leitner, Haywood, and Alexander for the team in blue. Haywood against Grant. Finds Leitner, who takes the jumper and misses. 4 rebounds for Tracy McGrady. McGrady with 21 points in the game. Near steal by Haywood, who left his man momentarily. Now T-Mac draws a foul on Alexander.
Well, Courtney's working real hard, first of all, to try and keep the ball out of Tracy's hands. That's tough to do. And then trying to guard him very tightly because the guy has been making his shots. McGrady right now 7 for 12 from the field.
And Tracy goes back to the free throw line.
He's been struggling there, though.
4 of 7 tonight. 9th pick overall in the '97 draft by Toronto. Played 3 years with the Raptors. Traded to the Magic a couple of years ago for a future first-round pick. And how good of a deal was that? Are you kidding me?
Yep. But I mean, at that point, Toronto realized they probably weren't going to be able to sign him and knew that they wanted to get something. But I think everybody in the league knew this guy was going to be something very special.
Now in his 5th year, we talk about how some of these high school players take a while to develop. He's developed into one of the best.
Is he 22?
Yeah, he'll be 23 in May. Offensive fouls on Tyrone Nesby. It's number 1 on Nesby. Doug Collins with some words for Danny Crawford, the veteran official. 1:43 to go. Monty Williams inside, lost the ball on the ground. Gets tied up. And Wizards bench screaming for 3 seconds, but instead a 20-second timeout taken by Orlando. Here's another look.
Get a little bit of a push off there from Monty Williams, but then he loses his footing, goes down, and he is in that key for a very long time, extremely close to the 3-second. I don't know who called the timeout, though.
I think he did. But at any rate, they get the time. Magic last year, 43 and 39 on the year. They made the playoffs for the 6th time in 8 years. They lost in the first round of Milwaukee 3-1. Have not had a losing record since the 91-92 season. And of course, Doc Rivers has done just such a tremendous job here. 2 years ago, Coach of the Year, 5th rookie coach ever to win the award, 1st coach in NBA history to earn the honor without leading his team to the playoff that year, and the 3rd coach to get it with his squad finishing with a 500 record or below.
Well, just a 2 that time for McGrady, but again, he's really feeling his shot outside. He's just setting his man up, giving some head fakes, and at 6'8", it's tough to get up there and challenge anyway.
And the Magic have matched their largest lead of 14. Whitney forced to take the baseline jumper, no good. Haywood tips it to Nesby, who goes inside and gets fouled. It's on McGrady. That's his first personal.
Well, that's why he had no problem giving that foul up. Good hustle from Brendan, but there you see him giving the foul just to make sure Nesby does not make that shot. Now Nesby goes to the line.
An 80% free throw shooter, 36 of 45 on the season. Tyrone's in his second year with Washington, coming from the Clippers in the trade for Cherokee Parks and former Maryland star Obinna Ekezie in November. And Ty Nesby makes one of two. Steve Buckhantz, Phil Chenier. Halftime will go back to Comcast for highlights of the day. All the ACC action. Maryland victorious in that. Armstrong cross court for Horace Grant, who takes the jumper and misses. Leitner is there. 6 rebounds for Christian Leitner. Nesby the other way, cut off by McGrady. Whitney leaves it off for Leitner's jumper. Good.
That was a nice two-man game. Both players being unselfish that time and working with each other.
6 points for Christian Leitner, who got the start tonight. The 29th start of the season for Christian. And Nesby, nice job, knocks it out of bounds. 11-point Magic lead. Wizards have won 2 of 3 against Orlando this year. McGrady again, unbelievable. 3-pointer for McGrady gives him 28 points in the half. And Doug Collins takes time. McGrady matching his season high for a first half of basketball, or any half this season, 28 points.
In fact, that 28 points, Steve, is the high for a halftime against the Wizards in the first half, I should say. Allen Iverson had that at 27 points back on November 28th.
T-Mac had 28 in the first half against Atlanta on December 7th. And the franchise high for Orlando in a half is 34 by Shaquille O'Neal. And now Doc Rivers will get Judd Buechler back into the lineup for Horace Grant.
Each team making those subs to try and get the matchups that they feel comfortable with.
14 seconds in the half. The Wizards would like to get one. They trail by 14. This is the largest lead of the game for Orlando. Lou, nice move, plays it inside. Great pass to Leitner. How about that play?
And he made that decision as he was in the air. He could have taken the shot, but saw the opening to drop the ball off to Christian Leitner. Watch this play again. He gets Garrity off his feet, drops a nice lob over to Leitner.
But it's Tracy McGrady, 9 of 14 and 4 of 5 from 3-point range. 28 points for McGrady, and at the half, the Magic are in control, 59-47. Wizards will try to come back in the third quarter. We send you back to Bethesda now, and George Johnson.